we're just, it's like, all right, hang on, we're about to go crazy.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time in the channel, hit subscribe right now. Greg, thank you so much for your time today. We're going to talk about the Static Abyss album that's coming out. Before we talk about the music and everything that's ahead of us, just want to look back real quick because help me fill in the blanks here. I know that you worked with Autopsy on Puncturing the Grotesque, and then you joined the band about a year ago. And then now with obviously Crust, the singer of Autopsy, there is this new band with a new album. That's the very, very high level version of that story. Help me understand a little bit, what the roots of this project or new band are, and how you kind of, joined that group.
Yeah, so I think Static Abyss basically was what happened. Long story short was that I had access to a venue called Great American Music Hall during COVID, and it's a beautiful big room with balconies, wood floors, and my friend was managing there, and he said, hey, do you want to set up the recording studio here so we can maybe cut albums and use the room, because right now at the time the room's just sitting dead and quiet and the ghosts are running around, so I was able to set the studio up, and just talking to Chris over time, he was like, yeah, dude, it's cool you're doing Great American Music Hall. And I was like, let's go make a record kind of thing. And then he was like, what kind of record? I'm like, I don't know. Let's just jam and see what happens. Because I know he works fast. Having recorded him there, and I'd had him do, Mortuous when I cut a record with them. They had him do guest vocals. I've done stuff for Siege of Power. I tracked the vocals for that for him, and then and Violation Wound I recorded a few times. So I was very familiar with how quick he worked. And so I was like, yeah, it's gonna be quick. And he was like, okay. So we wound up getting together and just kind of blankly went in, and it just kind of started pouring together. Him on drums, me on guitar at the time. And the riffs just kind of came together real quick, and that was it. So not much more than that. So
because I was gonna ask if this was a drunken jam session that kind of got out of control, and it sounds like I'm pretty close
it was very sober though. We were actually we were very sober because we driving out to the city, and it's just a whole fiasco. So But yeah, I booked 2 days there for that, and then we did we tacked the third day on just because it was going so well. We had wound up getting something like 20 something minutes worth of music, and so we were like, let's tack a third day on, and we can bump this thing into an album.
Combined between the two of you, I think that you're in 10 plus active projects and or bands, and then working on a million other things. So the first question I have to ask is Static Abyss, is this a new band, or is this was a project, this was something fun we did, and it's kind of up in the air what this will become?
This is definitely a project that we're going to keep doing.
Okay.
We were discussing, obviously Autopsy takes precedence of what we're doing, with our time. But I'm already, I was talking to him about it, and it's like, let's do another one. We're going to work on another album. As far as doing live shows, that's going to be kind of it's going to be in the far future, and stuff. Yeah. But definitely we are looking to cut another album, throughout the year after the Autopsy madness slows down. Like, we're going to keep, Autopsy's going to be playing shows throughout the year, but which is easier to prepare for than the recording session we're in the middle of right now.
Yeah.
So.
I thought it was funny that when this project or band collaboration was first announced, through all the press materials, it was like, oh, a new Death Doom project by these two guys. And it's like, is this a Death Doom project? Because when I listen to it from a music perspective, I'm like, this is the bastard child of Autopsy and Discharge. And the bastard child has like, dual personality disorder. And in every song, kind of like both sides, come out. There's a big Crust influence here. Is that your influence? Is that the guitar-driven part that comes with that?
I'd say there's definitely Crust thrown in there for sure. Definitely I like my share of D beats and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. And then also just grindy stuff too. Just kind of how like definitely the riffs are all my ideas that came out. And obviously like inspired by playing with Chris, I was quickly able to figure out what riffs were going to be sound good, and so with him, so yeah, it's funny. I'm not sure how the Death Doom, there's definitely parts of that, but then I feel like there's there's a lot more weird shit going on than that. And Chris and I both scratched our heads because neither of us actually touted that as a Death Doom project. We were just like, I don't know where that came from, and stuff. But fuck it. It is.
Maybe we should just call it rock and roll. I don't know.
Yeah. And stuff. But it's definitely like, I have another project called Leather Glove that is, I would say some of the songwriting styles, definitely there's more of a crossover there musically or riff wise, I think, than Death Doom. But like, it's almost as if Leather Glove got faster is what I felt like for Static Abyss, And then that's why I wanted at Chris to sing everything. Yeah, at times. And I wanted Chris to sing to really remove that leather glove sound, and stuff, because I didn't want my voice on that, or it would just be, people might think that,
too similar.
So, so I don't, people will call it what they will.
You guys are throwing a lot, or you're channeling a lot of these different influences, in most cases into the same single song, right? Like every song is a bit of a roller coaster that takes us through different moments. Is that something, just because it comes back in many of the songs, is that something that when you are just jamming that you still kind of have like an idea up front, or is it really just like, hey, we just play and we see where we're ending up?
I think like we do try to drive some kind of concept of a movement in a song, rather than just, I mean, we definitely still put thought into crafting the songs with the little time we had to make sure that they were something that we'd want to listen to a month later or whatever, and, so definitely there was some thought that was put into it, because I know that, people's attention spans are so short these days that, you throw one song out and if they don't like it within a minute or two, they're probably going to scroll on to the next band or whatever. So we're like, okay, let's try to pack as much as we can into these songs.
Yeah.
And then they can, if they hear this song and don't like it, then they might not like the album. I don't know,
This is an album that, in lack of a better way of describing it, sounds so much like Autopsy and doesn't sound like Autopsy at the same time. Are you getting, especially when you look at bands that are iconic in traditional genres like Autopsy definitely is, do you, like, one part of me says like Autopsy fans are going to eat this up and are going to love this, but there might be also the gatekeepers that go like, well, it's not exactly what we've always expected from Chris and blah blah blah. How are you seeing that reaction from like the Autopsy fan base on the songs that you've put out so far?
So far it's been pretty positive, with people. I feel like it's been pretty positive, because I do feel like, I have seen responses of like, sounds just like Autopsy, cool, and I've seen responses where people are pointing out other, influences that, may or may not be what I was intending on the riffs, but they are, they're like, oh man, it kind of sounds like that, but it also sounds like, some other band, and stuff, and this part and that part, so it's pretty interesting and it's cool. And I think when people get exposed to the whole album, they'll definitely notice. I think the divergence will be mainly between the two bands. People will notice, especially in the lead work, is very different on the guitars. You know, Eric and Danny are fucking phenomenal guitar players, and they are a very strong part of the thumbprint of the Autopsy sound. And Static Abyss doesn't have their guitar playing, their solos on it. So I think that, and I kind of have my own style of playing guitar and doing leads just because I don't, you know, I'm like more of a rhythm guy when I write my riffs. Yeah. So I write as a bass player on guitar. So I feel like my stuff, like when I do leads, a lot of times in heavier music, kind of has more of an industrial influence on the lead work and stuff. So it's kind of more, you know, I mean, not exactly, but it would be more of a mindset of like Godflesh or, you know, that kind of stuff, you know, or like Zenagiva or these kind of bands that where it's a little more abstract and yeah, I put my own twists on it or whatever, because I really just want shit to sound fucked up. The people, if they just want another Autopsy 100% and no budge, they're probably not going to like this record. You know, they might see similarities in the basic riffs here and there, but not really on the other stuff. So, you know, but if people are interested in something different, then they might like it. You know?
I mean, it was recorded live or practically live. So it this is music that is just, you know, when you put it on, it's music that sounds the best in a dark, sweaty club where, you know, people are just going at it. So it's almost, it would be an extreme shame if this cannot be brought to life. So what are your thoughts there about it? And I understand obviously the complexities of having so many bands and projects and having Autopsy there where both of you need to spend a lot of your time. But are there any plans at all or any wishes?
I mean, I think in theory we would like to do some live shows, but you know, I feel it's crazy. It's like the way everything this whole last year has worked out. We wound up getting together. It was in spring of last year. This whole thing started. This whole band, and within a couple months after doing that, I'm in Autopsy. You know, and then it's like Autopsy is like writing an album, like right as I'm joining, and so you know, and then it's just. And then COVID breaks and all this weird stuff. And then we're jumping into shows in January. So it's been such a crazy torrent of stuff that we're going through that, but you know, we were like, yeah, it'd be fun if we ever have time, we should do shows. It'd be awesome. Just find I'd probably play guitar if I did Static Abyss live, and then probably find a second guitar player and a bass player, you know, to pull it off. But it's one of those, we're like, that would be cool, but right now we're like this with Autopsy, you know. So, you know, except for, you know, I mean, we've just discussed about, you know, starting to work on a new album for Static Abyss after we're done. Once the Autopsy stuff shipped off and done, I got my other band Deathgrave is finishing up their album in a couple weeks. And then after that, like, I got headspace again to write riffs. So, you know,
so yeah, that's gotta be a question. Like, are you ever not recording an album with anyone?
I mean, I do record bands for a living, so pretty much I'm always recording. Yeah, but even with my spare time, I have a couple like recording projects that I do that they'll probably never play live. You know, I've had lineups before for some of them, and then COVID happened, and you know, the bands didn't happen, and now I'm just like, maybe who knows if it'll ever happen. And I won't be heartbreaking if not, because I actually love all my bands that I'm in, so practice and pay for practice spaces. So yeah. So yeah.
All right. Greg, first of all, I look forward to seeing all the reactions of the fans on the broader material, and so much to look forward to. You're going to be busy.
Yeah.
What at this point? I know you're in the middle of recording with Autopsy. On that front, what can we already know? What should we keep our eyes open for?
As it goes, we're finishing our mixes next week and then sending that off to mastering. So with any luck, we'll have an album out by the end of the year, a new one. And so, and then we're playing shows, we're flying around and doing stuff. So we got some pretty fun shows coming up. So
looking at cool. how much this machine is rolling, is it crazy to imagine that for such a long time, Autopsy wasn't really around? Just to see how the scene has embraced this band back to the fold and at the front lines, really.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's cool watching this, and I feel very privileged and to be a part of this whole roller coaster they're on right now and be at this, the peak of it and just, it's like, all right, hang on, we're about to go crazy, and because we definitely have a pretty busy year mapped out as a band, which I'm really excited about. So
is that at all a concern for you? Because you mentioned before, like, your whole career is, doing a lot of studio work and working with a ton of different bands. A hectic year like this with Autopsy, is that possible for you?
Yeah, I think so, because Autopsy doesn't tour per se, so We're not like sitting in a van for 2 months at a time. So it's fly-in. So in a lot of situations, we're gone for 2 days and we're back to work. So like it's not too much of a concern for me, because before COVID happened, I would tour at least a month a year before, anyways. So it's actually fine for me. I did, when they first asked me to join, I was like, are we jumping in a van for 6 weeks at a time, or like, because I will need to weigh out if this is something I can possibly do. And they were like, no, we aren't doing like, we've done our like 2-month tours and stuff. We got that out of our system, but we do travel, and I'm cool with that. So,
Greg, I want to thank you so much for your time this evening. Really appreciate it. It was such a fun record, and can't wait to see more of it.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.